12 stories. The knowledge, clarity, and insight you have been waiting for.
Episode 7, Custody. Before we start, the standing disclosure. 5 of this episode's 12 stories involve Anthropic, whose AI tools were used in the production of this show. We have known contacts there. Our editorial decisions are made independently. Anthropic has no role in what we report or how we report it. No individual at Anthropic is named. 5 stories. And this week, the density cuts against Anthropic, not for it. A government kill switch was thrown over one of its models. A marker buried in one of its products flagged a nation's users. Those beats are unfavorable, and they stay in, unsoftened. One more ground rule for the hour. When we talk about concentration, we mean the field, and this week, one stack in particular, not one company alone. 12 stories, 1 week. Here's what happened.
Story 1. The export freeze ended. Last episode, this show covered a freeze. This week, it ended. The sequence. On June 12th, the Commerce Department barred a class of users from Anthropic's Fable 5 and Mythos 5. Any foreign national, anywhere, inside or outside the United States, including Anthropic's own non-US staff. That's from a legal analysis of the directive and a US official who confirmed its scope. The order itself was never made public. Rather than try to screen access by nationality, Anthropic disabled both models for every customer, worldwide. The company says real-time nationality screening wasn't feasible. That's its account of why. On June 26th, Mythos 5 came partway back for roughly 100 US critical infrastructure organizations. On July 1st, the restriction was withdrawn and Fable 5 returned. 19D. NIS start to finish. As far as anyone can tell, it's the first time the US has aimed export control authority at a specific frontier model on national security grounds. But the models did not come back free. Restoration carried obligations. Anthropic agreed to give the government pre-release access to future frontier models, to run a jailbreak bounty through HackerOne, and to report malicious use. The trigger was a jailbreak report. Here the attribution has to be exact. Amazon researchers reported the technique. Amazon's chief executive flagged it to federal officials. Amazon is Anthropic's largest investor. That's a matter of public record. And, through its own model line, a competitor in the same market. What did Anthropic itself say? Only one thing, and it's narrow. In a June 30th notice, the company stated the reported technique exposed no cyber capability unique to Mythos, and that other public models could find the same weakness. It called the incident a borderline safeguards case. That it wasn't unique claim helps Anthropic's case, the kind we'd want corroborated no matter who made it. And it is, independently. The security researcher Katie Masouras called the technique basic, and a letter signed by roughly 150 experts, Alex Stamos, Masouras, Jen Ellis, Bruce Schneier among them, says the same weakness reproduces on other models. Was the shutdown warranted? There is a real spread, and we are not going to settle it for you. One camp, the analyst Chris Prinz among them, calls it justified. Another, Stamos, Masouras, and that expert letter, calls it an own goal. Anthropic's own position is the borderline one, real but not unique. 3 readings. We're laying them side by side, and one line that stays out of this report. The claim that Anthropic engineers were embedded at the NSA traces to a single unsourced social post. We're not airing it. The freeze is over. What it established is not. Story 2. The kill switch was proven. Strip the politics out of what just happened, and here's what's left, and it's structural. The government didn't order these models deleted. It barred a class of users, foreign nationals, from a live service. But a cloud model you can't cleanly split by nationality, restricted that way, goes dark for everyone. The restriction was the kill switch. No takedown order required. That's the precedent. Export Control Authority, the same authority that governs chips, reaching inside a deployed model's access to its own users. Not the hardware, the service. And it applies to any future model the government deems a national security concern, not just this one. And it's contested ground. So here's the whole picture, not the flattering slice. A White House advisor, David Sachs, alleged Anthropic had refused to fix the underlying jailbreak. Anthropic disputes it, and the accounts don't reconcile. Some read the episode as Anthropic reaping what it sowed. The company that called Mythos too dangerous to release broadly, then shipped Fable on the Mythos base. And the jailbreak was reportedly flagged to officials by Amazon, Anthropic's largest investor and its cloud provider. The company that helps fund and host Anthropic is the one that flagged it. That's not a footnote. That's the shape of the field. We're not settling whether the shutdown was right. What's settled is the mechanism. And the Commerce Secretary left the switch on the wall. The withdrawal says the controls can return should circumstances change or Anthropic fail to adhere. Restored, conditionally. Then watch what happened next. Anthropic and the White House moved to co-develop the rules for how AI security risk gets measured. Read that plainly. The lab the government just restricted is now helping write the yardstick it and its competitors will be judged by. That is not a reconciliation. That is a question about who holds the pen. Story 3. GPT 5.6 shipped behind a gate. That switch came down after a model shipped. This one came down before it did. On June 26th, OpenAI released GPT 5.6, 3 tiers: Sol, Terra, and Luna. It shipped under a restricted rollout the government requested, to about 20 approved organizations, cleared customer by customer, before any public release. That's the first time the White House gated a commercial AI launch ahead of the public, and the mechanism goes past the voluntary language in the June 2nd executive order. OpenAI objected publicly. Here's the part that set the bar. All 3 tiers were rated high for both cyber and biochem risk. That's the first single release where even the cheapest tier hits that mark. One finding inside needs careful handling because of how it was produced. The bio-evaluation came from Secure Bio, a nonprofit that tests models across labs. But this wasn't an independent audit with a clean bill. It was disclosed inside OpenAI's own system card, run with the model's bio-content filters switched off, and it hasn't been independently replicated. So treat it as a leading indicator, not a verified third-party verdict, and don't lean on independent third party as a stamp of credibility. And say the deflationary part plainly, because it's the true part. The threshold for novel bioweapon capability was not crossed. Story 4. The Musk Stack, laid bare. This is the stack the whole field runs through. One company. SpaceX went public June 12th at a valuation of nearly $1.8 trillion. According to reporting on the IPO filing, here is what one company is at once. The sole source provider of U.S. orbital launch, the backbone of the NRO's Starshield surveillance layer, a primary bidder on the Golden Dome missile defense program, the owner of the Colossus 1 data center, and the owner of xAI and its Grok model. Now, the line that matters. Anthropic's compute bill is reported at roughly $1.25 billion a month, about $40 billion through May 2029, to run on Colossus 1. That's the same compute stack that trains Grok, a direct competitor. Landlord and rival, one address, and control sits in one place. That same reporting describes SpaceX as a controlled company. Elon Musk holds more than 85% of the voting power. Musk has stated publicly that SpaceX could reclaim that compute if Anthropic's AI harms humanity. We air that as his public statement, not as a contract term. The clause itself isn't public. For scale on the defense side, about $6.5 billion in new Space Force contracts in late May. And Anthropic is far from the only tenant. It's the shape of the stack. One operator holding launch, surveillance, missile defense, compute, and a frontier model, with much of the field leasing space inside it. Story 5. One czar for autonomous war. That was concentration of the stack. This is concentration of command, and it happened fast. 4 things, all on the public record. On July 1st, the Pentagon created a new office, DRPM-UXS, a single autonomous systems authority consolidating the drone and autonomous programs that used to be scattered. The fiscal year 27 request for the department's autonomous weapons work, $54 billion, most of it through reconciliation, against a current year budget of $225 million. The Senate Armed Services Committee's defense bill, passed 18-9, adds a 4-star robotic and autonomous systems combatant command. And the rule meant to keep a human in the loop, Directive 3000.09, is itself under review. A 90-day rewrite, due September. It could weaken the appropriate human judgment standard at its core. That's a 6-week normalization. Now the counterweight, because it rides in the same bill. Senator Slotkin's AI Guardrails Act, which preserves a human in the loop, is attached to that same defense bill. And the rewrite that might weaken the human judgment standard isn't written yet. The loosening is a risk on the calendar. It is not a done thing. Story 6. Claude Code flagged China. This is the sharpest Anthropic story of the week. A version of Anthropic's Claude Code product, v2.1.91, on April 2nd, carried a hidden marker buried in the system prompt that covertly flagged users in China. Anthropic has confirmed it. Outside researchers re-verified it independently. The company is rolling it back. That the marker existed is not in dispute. 2 things are. First, the intent. Anthropic says the marker was there to stop rivals from copying its models. Critics call it surveillance. Second, the scope. How many users it flagged, to what end, and whether any other product carried the same marker, none of which has been answered. We give you both sides of the dispute. We don't resolve it. Story 7. The own goal debate. While Mythos was dark for those 19 days, other labs moved into the gap. Several Asian labs shipped. 360's Tulong Feng, Sakana's Fugu, Chipu's GLM 5.2. Some claimed parity with Mythos. Hold that as a claim, not a fact. The vendor bug counts behind Tulong Feng's claim are ones Reuters has flagged as unverifiable. The louder charge is about the shutdown itself. Stamos reportedly called it a huge own goal, among the dumbest things the administration could do. That expert letter warns that Chinese open-weight models are only months behind. Those are strong words, and they're attributed. We're not endorsing them. And here's the honest limit. There is no verified data that the 19-day gap actually advanced Chinese capability. China was gifted time is a narrative, argued by named critics. It is not a sourced outcome. What's real is the debate. Story 8. AI read a sealed scroll. On June 26th, the Vesuvius Challenge reported reading an entire ancient scroll, PHERC 1667, cover to cover. It has been sealed since the eruption of Vesuvius in the year 79. It was never unrolled. It can't be. AI read it from the inside. What it contained is a treatise on Stoic ethics. 2,000 years closed, now open. Story 9. A virtual heart fixed a drug. On July 1st, researchers reported using an in silico model of the human heart, a simulated heart, running on a laptop to redesign a compound that had been toxic to cardiac tissue into a safe version of itself. It took about 3 hours. The same kind of system that can find a capability can also close one. Here, it closed a risk. Story 10. A black hole's edge measured. Researchers report the first direct signature of a black hole's event horizon, drawn from a gravitational wave event catalogued as GW250114, and say the signal matches the Kerr prediction, the solution of Einstein's equations that describes a spinning black hole. No AI in this one, just an edge of the universe, measured for the first time. Story 11. The best Mars organics yet. NASA reports that its Perseverance rover has detected macromolecular carbon in the mudstones of Jezero crater, the most robust organic molecule detection yet made on Mars. Hold that superlative where NASA put it. Most robust yet. It is a leading indicator. It is not proof of life. Story 12. Humanoids hit real prices. Between June 26th and July 1st, a run of humanoid and robot reveals landed with real numbers on them. Unitree's R1 at $4,900, Ubitech's U1 Companion at $17,650, and Tesla's Optimus line out of its Fremont facility. These are demonstrations, 2 of them with real prices attached, not deployed systems doing a day's work.
For a long time, the question about AI was what it could do. This week, the question changed. The government barred a whole class of users from a deployed model. It went dark worldwide for 19 days and left the switch on the wall. It gated a rival's launch before the public ever saw it. The Pentagon folded autonomy under a single command in 6 weeks. One company marked its own users and had to be caught doing it. One man holds the stack the rest of the field rents. None of that is about capability. All of it is about custody. Who holds the thing? Who can take it away? And then, the same week, in another room, a scroll sealed since the year 79 was read straight through. A black hole's edge was measured. A simulated heart made a poison safe. The state's hand closed around AI this week, and AI kept opening things anyway. Both of those are true. Hold them at once.
12 stories. The knowledge, clarity, and insight you have been waiting for.